Item 1B is admin reports, so we'll start with Darren Kane.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. So we've got our October newsletter link there for you to look at. Some events going on. Our 5th grade cookie dough fundraiser started October 1st and runs through Sunday. So that's a big event for 5th graders selling different types of cookies. We celebrated October 2nd, National Custodian Day. We brought in a bunch of treats for the custodians and just recognized our 4 custodians that work in our building. Yesterday we sent home NWA MAP scores from the fall with students, and to save money we sent it through advisory for them to take home and let parents know they were coming home. Web presentation later. Big shout out to Lisa and Kristen just for the work they've done. There's lots of planning and organization and bringing 8th graders in before the school year starts, training them to support our 5th graders, and they have now started, they go into some of the 5th grade advisory, is that once or twice a month, Kristen? Once a month. So it's a nice opportunity for our 8th graders to experience some leadership and mentor some of our 5th graders. Just recognizing a couple teachers here. Nelsina Landau was 2025 Reader's Choice Best of the Valley Intermediate School teacher, and she is now at the middle school. Josh Lorenzo was the Reader's Choice Best of the Valley middle school teacher. So just recognizing some of our awesome staff. Finished up homecoming week. We had a bunch of dress up days and it culminated with a party after the parade. 90 minutes of fun, and as an administrator you're always worried about that, but there was not one single issue. So I was very happy and the kids had a great time. Pride update, as of October 3rd, we had 332 of our Pride Awards, 48 corrective stop and things. Our ratio is 6.9 to 1 currently. Also just sent out parent communication about our connections coming up from the conferences. We call them connections. That'll be October 28th and November 5th.
Some questions for Darren. Julie Bennett.
Yes. Starting by just having a big thank you and shout out to the high school. Really these two for just opening up the doors and opening up everything that they're doing to the 4K4 last week with homecoming. So it was pretty cool. We were invited down to the track to watch Powder Puff. We did some super cool things down there with the parade and having athletes come over for to read at the elementary school, and then also just for lunch. Pretty much any idea that was swirling around, and I reached out to these two. It was just like, yep, who do you need? How many? When? So it was really cool. The kids had an absolute blast. I think from the youngest all the way up to the oldest. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys had a chance to view one of our new traditions that we have with our kindergarten class and our seniors. So, coolest thing ever. All right, Act 20, our fall screeners, they're complete. So the students who do fall below that 25th percentile, that's where, again, they're gonna be part of a reading plan. Some of our norms and things have changed from Ames Web, so it took just a little bit longer to get some of that stuff figured out, but we're sitting good and we're doing good things for kids. October is our National Bullying Awareness Month. This year we're going to be utilizing the second step curriculum for bullying prevention. So looking at it very differently and looking at what we can do more so to prevent instead of just always dealing with the aftermath of when kids are mean. We all know that, I mean, we try everything and hands down, kids are mean. So we do not know how to fix that. I think it is something that is just always gonna be there, but we can get ahead of it. So just trying to ensure that kids know that if they do see something that is unkind, to speak up. Because a lot of times if we don't see it or hear it, we don't know. And usually kids who are mean are really good at it. So they can be quiet and they can do things under the radar. So it's getting more kids to understand, speak up, let us know, promote the kindness. And us too, thank you to the custodians, Hunter and his crew, a great group of people. They're doing a really nice job, and we were able to celebrate them last week as well. That's all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Amanda Meyer.
All right, so today, I also linked an October newsletter for you there. Today we had our first practice pre-ACT and ACT day huge shout out to Nicole Brown, because not only does she just normally do everything, but this year the company changed, like everything seems to do, and with that came a lot of just technology changes, and that she learned everything very quickly here, got it ready for our staff, and then staff executed today. So I think everything went pretty well today. We had really good participation, which was really nice, because then our makeups tomorrow are down to like 15 kids, so that's really nice. And we'll be starting to dig through data. Just initially, it looks really good, so that was really positive to see. And then we have our school report cards. One of my roles this year is the DAC, District Assessment Coordinator, so we are going through those right now and checking for any errors, and then learning what all the changes that happened from last year to this year. So official report cards will come out in November, so we'll report on those once those are out. The lower buildings are getting ready for Parent Connection Night. We just had ours last week. So that was, remember we changed that this year, so we have two Parent Connections, or in-person conferences like we've had before. And then the other 6 hours are communication home during certain weeks of the school year. So our biggest thing is just making sure that we're communicating with the people who need to be communicated with. Typically during your in-person conferences, your people that are coming in are the parents who are really, really involved, and so those aren't always the parents that you need to connect with the most. So we're trying to make sure our teachers are reaching out to all the people they need to connect with.
Can I ask if you had many people?
We did not have many. We don't have a lot typically, so this was different, but
Yep.
Yeah, not a lot. That's why we wanted to shift a little bit, so we are spending our time actually reaching out to as many people as possible.
I mean, we get a lot of the freshman parents that come in for the open house, or, open house day, and like, I'm sure our classes do, but.
Sure.
Yeah, hopefully the Parent Connection thing is a good move here moving forward, which will be.
There's try.
And then we have our freshman wellness screener that's taking place next week, and Sarah Michelle will lead that. And then again, all of those kids that kind of rank at an at-risk get one-on-one time with an outside counselor, and then our counselors check in with them too, and services can be provided after that touch that they have with the adults. So that's gonna be really positive for our kids that need some support who don't currently have that support. Awesome. Questions for Amanda?
Scott Newton.
All right, big thank you to Ryan Sabe and Anne-Marie Koppel and Oscar, our Oscar students. With the work and organization they did with homecoming last week, I thought it was a great week. I thought our Pep Fest I thought the kids overall, their attitudes, their spirit, it was a pretty positive day. Very, very happy how everybody responded that day, and it was extremely fun to be part of. Congratulations to our girls golf team, which last week took top 4 regionals, and they qualified for the sectional tournament this last Monday. They did not advance out of sectionals, but it's a great team accomplishment. And we have a doubles team that just qualified for the sectional tournaments in Eleanor Hagan and Ella Sedeby. They play tomorrow in Eau Claire. Both are also first-year tennis players. Wow. So for those girls to get out there and learn with the coaches, I think is a pretty big accomplishment. And for September and October, our Rotary Students of the Month are Kevin Slechta and Courtney Slechta. And so they participated in luncheon today at the Sinker Falls Auditorium. And they're the 2 staff members they chose to represent them or bring with them were Miss Krenz and Miss Campbell.
The one comment I have about homecoming is that game was just a bore fest.
Yeah, I wish there could be better coaching to not have it so close like that. So kids responded great, and it was a great ending, but yeah.
It was awesome to watch though as well, because even though it didn't start out the way, you could see the morale of the students of keeping it positive and keep going, and it paid off at the end. That to me is quintessential homecoming games, right?
Yeah, and I tell you what,
when they're 50-0, it's like, woo, but it didn't need to be that close, but that's about as good as it gets.
Right, and I also say that I told this to the kids, what was really special, I felt like, and I felt it all week with our kids too, but was the crowd, the fans, and everything was there. It was, I told the guys, you don't get this too often. I said, enjoy this experience and what you have tonight, and it's pretty cool.
Nice work. I would say having the 2015 students on the sidelines was a really cool thing.
Yeah, until I saw one had a baby, then I felt really old.
You feel old.
It was,
They would
that's
be
really
like
cool.
28, right?
Stop it.
Okay,
Mhm.
alright.
Cool. That was cool having them on the sidelines, that was really neat.
And there's cheese curds.
Lots of cheese curds.
There was a lot of people there
It
though,
was packed, it was
that
awesome.
was really cool.
Good crowd.
Shannon?
Just two things for me, ECCB, Early College Credit Program, an update on the funding for that. This is another one of those aids that is, some certain, meaning that we're not guaranteed the percentage reimbursement, typically it's 25%. But the way that it's shaken out this year, based off of last year, it's gonna be probably closer to 20%. Good news is that they did appropriate more money so that, for 25, 26, and 26, 27, they appropriated an additional, let me find it, 252,800 this year and an additional 328,000 in 27. So we could get bumped back up to 25%. And then just from a historical perspective on what we spent, 53 last year, 61 the year before that, 31 the year before that. The other thing is, we're just looking at October 15th for our equalization aid, general aid to be finalized, and then we can go ahead and finalize the budget.
Alright, Dr. Stiles.
All right, in front of you, you have a super pretty color copy of kind of the short version of the strategic plan, right? This doesn't have the group that came together, how the strategic plan all came together and how we do things. This is the 25, 26 version. So if you go through the pillars, so on page 3, like the learning and growth, the way we did it, again, looking for your input, is just priority action items, similar to how we've done this in the past. So is this all the work we're gonna do this year? No, it's not. What do you need? Can you bring it up? Sorry. So things like under learning and growth, right, the artificial intelligence professional development, that's all staff. You can see that across, and then there's some district/board pieces. And then on the back of that is the measurable goals. So thinking about, yep, we have this, but how are we gonna know we're successful? So the high school, by June of 26, 100% of staff are gonna complete the AI professional development. It was pretty great. Today we actually met with the person who was presenting. In our February session, there's gonna be 8 different tables that staff can pick from. They can sit at the table with 9 of their colleagues and explore a new tool for 15 to 20 minutes, so they can learn it, try it, see if it's something they wanna explore more, and then go to another table. So much more of that workshop model as opposed to a sit and get, so they can try it and see what it can do for them. So that was pretty positive. And then we just go through all 4 pillars. So the health and safety, right? One of our big pieces that you see across health and safety is the school resource officer integration. And then on the backside, you can see like the high school has a different level of integration of the SRO than like the elementary or intermediate school would. Communication and engagement, same thing. So, right, general areas and then some measurable goals under each. So what you don't see are sometimes in the past, we come forward with the academic growth goal of we are going to take map test data for this much, by this much for this group of kids. That work still happens. But it's the same work we do every year. This is more, what are we doing to build on the work that we've already done? So this is more of the new work that we're focusing energy on. So we just wanted to make sure you have this and open for feedback, thoughts, ideas before it goes out to our webpage and becomes really the focus. So the thought is that we would come back in the spring and give you an update, obviously January, but in the spring with being able to report out on what we're measuring.
Questions, thoughts?
I just love this.
Yeah, Taylor?
I know.
I can tell you that having the pillars with being able to talk about learning and growth, health and safety, communication, engagement, finance and operation, and what fits under where when we're doing work together has been really positive.
I just love that it gives a little extra direction.
Well, it's the work we're doing, and we also wanna make sure that we're looking at it from a measurable context, because things can also get lost if you don't measure them.
Absolutely, and it's accountability.
So again, not all of the work, it was hard to come up with a short list.
But if you don't pick some things, you get lost.
Okay, so you are all good with it, then it will go out as a public document, and we'll create our tracking documents with it.
Any more questions? Nice work, you and your team.
Thank you. Keeping the strategic plan aligned.
Alright, anything else on admin reports? I didn't miss anybody, right? Okay. Item 2, learning and growth, review early college credit program and start college now applications. I have them all. Remind me of the state statute on this, are we allowed to accept or decline based on classes anymore? No, right? So it's sheer technicality, we sign off on it and the college does their work and then we get a bill for it?
And the counselors do a lot with that as well. And remember, there's students in there that apply for multiple schools because they don't know if they're gonna be able to get the class at the place that they applied.
And they also apply for they apply for multiple classes,
Cause
correct?
they don't know what the schedule's gonna be like.
Right.
So this one is for spring semester, right? So October for spring, and then in February it's for summer.
So just because one student has 8 classes on there doesn't mean that.
Correct. They might not get in any of those classes. I remember that these are classes that we don't offer, they can't match what we already have.
And the max they can take is 18 credits.
And they have to be, how proper way to say this? In good academic standing.
No,
to take
we
These classes or no? We
No.
don't, okay.
but if they, go ahead, Amanda, go ahead.
Well, if they fail the course and they have to they have to pay for the course. And that grade shows up on their transcript as well.
Okay.
If they get an F from UW River Falls, that stays on their,
River Falls transcript
Yep.
or Osceola transcript or both?
And that impacts athletic participation,
Okay.
and that also can impact college entrance. So they, sometimes students think it's separate, and we've had to have those conversations, really hard parent conversations about why did this happen.
And students from 9 through 12 are eligible, right?
Yep.
Summer of 8th grade.
We have the upfront hard conversation of, hey, this might not be for you if you get a student that is showing some interest in these things.
yes and no.
Okay.
Those are hard conversations, cause if they're applying, they believe that they're ready for that.
Yeah.
So we've had some of those hard conversations and then they still do it, kind of learn, or some of them this year decided, nope, you're right, I think we're gonna pause.
Yep.
So, the harder conversation is when a course is denied.
And it does set students up for some great success in college.
Well, it's a great opportunity, I mean.
And remember, it's Start College Now, and so it's technical schools and four-year colleges. So it's Start College Now means it's a great thing.
Alright, anything else on this item?
What?
Item 3,
Makes me wanna go back to school.
Oh,
Good.
not me.
you should, man.
Go for it, Jen.
Communication and engagement, item A,
So
review
sorry.
school closure 25-26 planning.
So, as we tried to plan ahead, so now, if you look at click on the history of school closures, because if you could please, Tricia, because I know that's always interesting to see where we've been. So this goes back to 2003-4, because that's how far back Sharon goes. I appreciate that. You know, there have been many years where there's been 0 days, where we haven't had to consider anything, and then there's been as many as 7. And you probably remember that year when it was so cold. Well, COVID was a whole nother deal, but right, we didn't have to worry about minutes. So the 2-hour delays, the ice, the cold, the snow.
Did we really have snow day last year?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
There was no snow.
There was that day.
I don't remember
It
that.
also snowed on Halloween.
Last year?
Yeah, cause I wore the wrong shoes and I got pointed out about it
I
already.
must have been somewhere else. I don't remember that.
So this document, again, trying to be, so we go back to the original, this document trying to offer clarity to our teammates about who shows up, who doesn't show up, what happens, how do they get paid, and when do they get paid, as opposed to in the past, we would sit here in February and March and wonder. One thing that we noticed as a team when we put this together is our in-service day in April is very early, and we've had snow days later than April 6th. So when we look at day 4, if we had gone to day 4, you will see that there's also an or that wasn't there in the past, which is extending minutes to our school day as opposed to adding on additional days, because we want it to be flexible. So in the very top, if you can scroll just a little bit, you'll see a new bullet. So this is what's different. All plans below remain subject to adjustment in response to unexpected circumstances, right? So we aren't married to this, we're dating this plan. So we think that it sounds like a really good plan, and we might even be engaged to it, but we're not sure.
We're holding hands. right
Yes, we're
now.
holding hands, okay? And then day 1, day 2, and then day 3 would be a makeup day, and then you can see like our June 4th and 5th, that changes from a half day to full days. I've had staff reach out and say, hey, will those be flexible in service? I said, I don't know yet, like, because we don't know what will happen, we don't wanna commit to that. And then, the day 4, whether it be an at-home learning, because that's not something you can just do with grades, like 4K through 8, like, okay, everybody, we're gonna learn at home, like we did in March, a long time ago. So we wanted to be flexible there. And this has been shared out with all of the department leads to make sure that they had the clarity that they needed. It's really important to call it the kids club piece, because when you have children and you need to go to work and it's a cold day, it's really difficult. But it also, that program is a wraparound program. So all of a sudden to say now we have 200 kids and we need to be staffed for all of them all day is just really a challenge. So that's the why behind that. You see, so what I do with this after you all give me the thumbs up is then I go into the snow day page that we have and change all of the dates. And then that one also talks about how cold is it, when do you start considering how much snow, when do you call the plow guy in East Farmington to say how are the roads down there, right, all the things.
For that plow guy's trouble.
We tried.
So are there any questions, wonders, worries?
I know this is greatly appreciated.
And there's always somebody who doesn't fit into here, that we all look at each other and go like, how do we fix this? And then we just do those personal conversations that I think we're really good at.
One turn was good.
Okay,
Alright, item 4, finance and operations, item A is facilities planning.
did you want that clicker?
Sure.
Clicker. Sit at the table?
Sit up here too.
Alright.
You might have to turn it on, Hunter. On the side.
I think we're
Yeah, it's flashing.
There
we go.
All right, so I got a presentation here for you guys on educational adequacy and facility audit, how they work together. So first of all, what is a facility audit? So a facility audit is a detailed review of the school's buildings to assess safety, code compliance, and overall condition. So it looks at everything, roofs, HVAC, plumbing, classrooms, athletic facilities, common spaces, kitchen, etc. So this is where we can identify repair needs, any code issues that we may run into with ADA issues, and then also energy improvements. It also provides cost estimates, supports long-term planning, and ensures safe and effective learning environments. So how can it help? A facility audit gives us a clear picture of the condition of our school buildings, highlighting safety needs, compliance issues, and long-term maintenance priorities. So this information guides our decisions on repairs, capital projects, and budgeting, ensuring we create a safe, efficient, and sustainable learning environment for Osceola students. Another pro to a facility audit is that it gives us current pricing information, and also gives us the ability to price that out for inflationary reasons, for if it's something that we're gonna push out 5 years, this is what it could cost in 5 years. And it gives us priority levels on those deferred maintenance items. It also offers a opportunity for us to have a professional third-party assessment of our buildings. So educational adequacy. So this ensures that classrooms support today's teaching and learning needs. So it can identify overcrowding and underused areas, evaluates accessibility, safety, and equity, determines adequacy for future programming, and aligns our facility planning with student success goals. So facility audit and educational adequacy would go hand in hand. So why now? Our last facility audit was conducted in 2014 by Kraus Anderson. The prices were updated in 2018, and then the study was updated again strictly on the elementary school in 2021. Facility audit will typically only plan out 10 years into the future. Anything past 10 years, there's just too many variables for them to try and predict what's gonna happen. Building systems age and need proactive planning. Education programs, technology, and space needs evolve. And then also back to the costs and codes. Even though the building hasn't changed, those codes can change. And costs seem to rise every single year, so we need to update that to get updated budgets and compliance. So how does this help us with strategic planning? So it allows us to prioritize investments, so we can rank urgent repairs, and then also allocate for more long-term projects. Identifies current conditions, so it provides an objective look at building systems, safety features, and infrastructure needs. Again, going back to facility audits every 10 years, that's because even though something may last 20 years, there's always the chance that it fails in 10, and it's just too hard to try and project that out. It also supports educational goals, so it aligns facility improvements with instructional priorities, ensuring buildings support modern learning, technology integration, and student well-being. It forecasts our future costs, and it also informs budget planning.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
I did it.
So this is an example of what one can look like. This is from our facility audit in 2014 from Kraus Anderson. So you can see on the left, this is for the high school. On the bottom, there are tabs for each area. So each school, the pool, transportation, and then the elementary has several phases there on the bottom as well. But so this gives us kind of a look at what a facility audit would look at, and how it would be laid out. All of the pricing is in the middle, and then the priority 1 through 3. So if this is something that was supposed to be replaced 5 years ago, but we weren't able to then, that would be a priority 1. If it's something that we want to start thinking about now, but can be, in that 7 to 10 year range, that would be a priority 3. So then on the right there, we have added inflation for each year, so we can forecast out if this is a priority 2, it needs to be done in 5 years, what's that cost gonna be in 5 years? So firms and pricing. Through CISA 11, we reached out to different companies, construction managers that would do a facility audit for us. We went through CISA 11 to prevent fostering of relationships and preferential engagement. So as soon as we make that connection with the company, then kind of the floodgates are open as far as them trying to sell us on anything and everything. So we wanted to gain that pricing information to allow us to have a clear understanding of the scope of the project before engaging with them directly. So the pricing ranges anywhere from $8,500 to $15,000 depending on firm and time frame. A lot of these companies, their downtime's in the winter, so if we could schedule it in the winter, they can give us a little bit better pricing on that. And CISA 11 reached out to 5 firms. We gained pricing information from 3 or 4. That's because the 4th one is dependent on an architect, whereas the rest of them will do everything in-house. So they gave us, the 4th firm gave us half of the pricing. So now diving into our current facilities. As you can see, we have a lot of large buildings. We have total square footage of 460,615 square feet across all buildings and bus garage. And then we have most recent capital projects. So in 2020, we had a $10 million facility needs referendum. I have a link there that you guys can go through that gives every single item that was and the price for that referendum. And then we have, before that was 2013, which was a $3 million referendum for the athletic complex. And then before that, so this is all in the last 25 years. But we have to go all the way back to 2001, which was a $9.6 million referendum to build and equip a new intermediate school. And then at the same time, $1.9 million referendum to add the auditorium to the high school. So in looking at this, it got us thinking about what other districts have been up to. So we made some visits to schools in the Middle Border Conference to see their facilities. It was important for us to see what enhancements have been made to support learning and student engagement in local school districts. So far we've visited Ellsworth, St. Croix Central, and Amory. And I have some pictures for you. So this is starting off with St. Croix Central. On the left is one of their 3 new shops. And in the middle is part of their commercial kitchen. So they did a referendum with Northwood Tech to Northwood Tech help them to secure funding for all of the machinery in the shop. They have that shop, they have a small engines, an automotive shop, and then a wood shop. And then on the right is one of the small things that we saw, but that can have an impact for us. That's just the stool. The table has a magnet and makes it a lot easier to clean underneath all of those stools. So that's one thing that we took away from this school as well. And then on the outside, a lot of branding on the outside of their school. And then large, they made commons areas out of hallways. So just large, wide hallways so that tables could be on either side and available for small study areas for students outside of those classrooms. So next we have Ellsworth. So on the left, we have another smaller thing, which is just wheels on tables. Allows teachers to configure their desks very easily and reconfigure as much as they like. The top right there is garage doors in between their shop and shop classroom. Gives the teacher added visibility into both areas, and then also just open up the doors and allow students to pass through between the 2 areas. And then in the middle they have their commercial kitchen. Each one of the schools had one One thing that they were very proud of, Ellsworth, was they make their own coffee grounds and package those up. St. Croix Central, they make everything in their school store. Students make it. And then Amory, they actually have a pizza oven in their commercial kitchen, but we'll get to that. But for the on the athletic side of Ellsworth, they have a new health and wellness center, which is in the middle there. On the top right, they have a commons area with their school store, which is right outside of their gym and connects in between their gym and their weight room. And then on the left there, they have, in their locker rooms were newly redone, and they have individual showering stalls.
And they also had doors that you can't write on.
Yeah.
Amanda and I were like, you broke your.
Question, how does one make a door that's not writable?
It's all textured.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
super
a
textured.
textured surface, so you can't scratch into it, it doesn't show up.
I did try to do that in the middle school, but that wasn't approved. They're more expensive.
So lastly, we have Amory. So on the left is their commons area. They had, on the far side, this picture, I can't really see it from here, but they did have some regular lunch tables, but the majority of the tables in there were kind of high top or soft seating for their students. And then they also had on the right here this area in between their high school and their new football stadium, which they allow students to eat out there during lunchtime as well. So here we have on the right, we have their pizza oven, and then in the middle, attached to that is their commercial kitchen. And then on the left, they have, this is their new STEM area. So these are two science and math classrooms that have windows, which allows the teacher to see into the commons area if they have students working at those tables. Otherwise, they have doors that come down if they want to prevent distractions or for safety as well. And another cool thing that they did is, in addition to their elementary school, they did 4 new classrooms and 2 fully remodeled classrooms. So 3 on either side, spacious classrooms, as you can see, that are connected with a bathroom in between. And then again, they had wide hallways that allowed for it to be more of a flexible space with breakout areas in the middle, and even some teacher desks in the hallways as well. So what does this mean? We are seeing an increase in common areas for students, an increase focus on career readiness, large spaces that are versatile for many uses, redesigning the space that we have, blending maintenance items with educational adequacy. So why it matters. A new facility audit will provide the data we need to plan responsibly for the next 10 years. It will align our spaces with the educational programs we offer today and those we plan for tomorrow. And investing in this process ensures we maintain safe, efficient, and future-ready schools for our Osceola students. Questions?
I love seeing the pictures of other schools, because I think it's so easy in this world that we're in to kind of silo into what we know, and we get little previews of St. Croix from that guy, but, you know, and I think education is so collaborative in nature that facilities should follow the same suit, so thank you for going and seeing, and also bringing it back to show us, because I think pictures tell. So if you just walked in and told Corey about a pizza oven at Amory, you wouldn't have needed to see anything more. It's the Corey Schmidt Memorial Pizza Oven.
I'm
opening in high school.
applying to Amory tomorrow.
You know, what was interesting in the visit was that people talk about family consumer science being dying, and all of the districts we went to have actually invested great amounts of dollars into having like 2 spaces. One space with the kitchen that's more industrial, but then having, whether it's graphic design and sewing and embroidery in the other side. The other piece, like when we saw ag areas, they're also bringing industrial kitchen pieces into the ag classrooms. So that was a new piece. We have lots more pictures than Hunter presented. And again, the intent of this conversation is just to say, like, what do you feel like you need to know in order for us as a team to be able to move forward and make a high quality plan? Because if there's one thing that's true of this whole team is we wanna do something that is relevant to move forward. And if we don't feel like a facilities study and an educational adequacy study is the direction we need to go, then we can of course step back from that. It was okay, how do you plan forward, how do you know? An example would be one thing we didn't see at any of the schools we went to in their career pathway was anything that was healthcare related.
Interesting.
And we have kids already taking CNA, that they come over to the hospital. And we also have Teresa Ellison who's doing, human anatomy, and we're dissecting. Why not build a lab space where we can do that, where we can have our EMTs, where we can have our firefighters trained and do a collaborative like that? Because also, let's be honest, where we are in the market for students, parents are gonna shop high schools. And that's just a reality. And what do we have compared to, right, the pockets of families that can make that choice because they live close to the edges, because we're all of these small school districts.
It's interesting to me, I like to see this idea of ways to kind of like common areas, or ways to use one space in more than one way. Be it a family consumer science area, or a classroom, or like the different ways of using spaces maybe is the right way of saying it, a hallway, or just something seems so simple, but just kind of that way of how could we get best use of our areas, but also acknowledging education has changed so much, the funding for education has changed so much, how can we best piece this all together to meet the needs of what our kids are and have them most ready for where they need to be, which I don't know what that is because I'm not an educator or a facilities planner.
I just think like that shop classroom that had the garage doors in between it, I just remember Mr. Kavlin back in the day going between the two. I mean, that's such a smart, easy, innovative way, but it took us, 25 years of education for us to realize that maybe there's a better way?
Well, what about the magnetic stool, so the drivers can just.
Genius. So smart. And I sat looking at that picture going, what is this picture of? Like, you couldn't tell from the picture, but that's the piece of it that I enjoy, is seeing it grow and be better for our kids. Like,
When is the last time we've done like something to our high school, did you say?
Like a renovation or, yeah, the last time would be, in 2020, we had, some, items on that list that, the last time we had a facelift of the school, which is what a lot of the area schools, that we went to are calling it, would be 2001. So, like something substantial, like that. Otherwise, we had, in 2020, we did cross a lot of, items off of the list.
But that was more
but
like
it was-
upkeep, right?
Yes,
That
it
was
was, it
boilers.
didn't,
Right, boiler, right, that.
yeah,
type.
it didn't have as much of an impact on, students.
The kids.
Yes, correct. It was more, sustaining our, current facilities.
Right,
And
Yeah.
it's not like even taking away part of our facilities, right, that's when we removed
true story,
greenhouse,
true story.
right?
Yep.
So, and also, I mean, to be completely honest, right, the donation that we received was about the high school. So that's why we spent a lot of time looking at high schools, because you don't just show up and say, hey, we have this big donation, how do we use it? You try to find inspiration from different places and make sure that it's practical for our community. And what do we have as far as dollars in order to invest in our students of the future, current and future, right? So what is it that Osceola, so the biggest renovation in our time is the office area to be a secure entrance. Right, we had the auditorium, and that's been serving us. Go ahead.
So the audit
your goal is to see where you are, right? Like it gives you and then some pricing.
Yep.
And then any additional stuff, so there's kind of three pieces that you gain from it.
Yeah, we'd be able to know where we are right now as far as, if there's all of the priority one items, kind of what that would cost us right now. And then try and budget out, anything that we can defer later than that. It also gives us a good look at, if we did, down the line, look at larger renovations, what can we include into that to make sure that we're, hitting all of those items on the list.
Okay, so it gives you a forecast on what needs to be replaced when,
Yep.
to a point.
From
Yeah,
an
because
unbiased
they're-
party, right?
Right.
Yep,
Correct.
yeah, from,
Right.
yep, and that would be the biggest part of having a third party is that, they would come in with a fresh set of eyes and look at everything, if there's anything that we're missing, if there's anything that, that is wearing faster than we think. And then it also allows us to, there are a lot of items that, I just don't have the budget for in 1 year to be able to replace. So we have to be able to, look at like planning out, are we gonna do this in increments and do we need to start now? Because some of those items we might need to.
Right, and I've seen some reports, the elementary school is all past due for the bulk of its stuff, correct?
Yep.
So would you be auditing that much, or knowing that most of that needs help or attention would be focused on other three buildings, more so, or all four?
We can do either. The most recent, study that we have done is on the elementary school. So if you guys would rather focus on the other three schools, that's also an option.
Does it change the price?
Yes, it typically is based on a square footage. As far as the price for a facility audit.
So I'm gonna put you three on the spot, what would be your recommendation, include elementary school or not include elementary school?
That's my question too, I guess. Are we talking district wide, are we talking high school, are we talking, what are we talking?
When was the elementary budget under?
2021.
Or maybe it's let's chew it over, we're not making a decision today.
Part of my brain goes to, what do we wanna do with the elementary, what pieces of the elementary are, like, I've had people call me and say, are you gonna shut down part of the elementary? Like, our key units are all connected at this moment in time, so to be able to get some educational adequacy understanding from an outside perspective could be valuable, but if we talk to them and they're gonna give us a replication of what we had in 2022, then let's just cross it off the list, because we haven't talked to these people, and I think Hunter was clear, like, with intention, because they really do, once you make the phone call, they like email you and they wanna set up, and we just wanted to be able to say to you, here are some prices, perhaps between 8,500 and 15,000, if we were going to entertain this, and then need to talk to these people about what they offer, and make sure that it's what we want, because if they don't offer anything about the education for the future, yeah, that's not who we want to go with, so we don't have a good understanding of which companies will give us what we need at the table the most.
So who would do the priority part? Would it be someone here or is it the people that are actually doing the audit?
It would be the people who are doing the audit would determine the priorities, and that would be based on just, what we're looking for, as far as if we say that, some educational items are a higher priority, that, they will take that into account. And then also, just life expectancy of, systems in the school, like as far as, like, if a roof needs to be replaced, then that'll be priority one, and, that's just kinda goes on lifespan.
And the three that you have bids, and then you said the fourth one is kind of connected to architect.
Yes.
The other three are not, they're
Correct.
like standalone, they're not like
Yep.
trying to sell you them.
Yep, there wouldn't be any added fees onto that. It would be, the construction manager would do the full audit.
And we've had some feedback from some community members who are pretty engaged with, and engineering and construction and said, start with a general manager, not with an architect when you do these kinds of things. So it's important to know they've been heard, they've sat at the table with us and talked to us, and I think Hunter for sure agrees with that as a person who's new to the process.
Yeah, and I would like to have, like, I'm not an engineer, so I would like to have an engineer be able to tell me what we need to do with our buildings. And I think that would be very valuable.
I would say that high school definitely, I would lean towards the audit for that for sure, like that, the high school, because we're looking for the future, where we're going with the other schools have done. Whether it's a kitchen, industrial, whatever, and then also the donation piece, how can we use the space we have? Or what's that deal, like that's the biggest focus, I would say, is the high school.
And I would challenge that a little bit and say OMS and OIS as well, because our volumes are changing and our classroom structures are changing, and we're gonna have to know what needs to be updated. I mean, OIS hasn't been updated in a while, besides secure entrances, right? Taking that one off the table, but.
Yeah, besides secure entrances, it would go back to 2002.
Right. And so we'd be remiss to think just the high school is.
No, I agree, I think if we're talking future planning, I think we know we're gonna have an intermediate school and a middle school and a bus garage. I think we have to include all that, cause we are going to have to
No,
agree that we
and-
need to maintain those facilities.
And know what projects are coming up on the horizon, right?
The elementary school, the only reason I don't know about that is just because we've had a recent study done. That's the only reason why I'm not.
In my mind, it just has a question mark by it right now, to be determined.
Can you refresh me? If we do this, this doesn't hit on. This is different than a capacity study.
It's not directly a capacity study, but they can look at overused and underused areas and kind of give us recommendations on, like, if we're at capacity of something, or not. They can give us recommendations on it. It's not directly a capacity study, but.
Because I think it's kind of important that we're looking at that too.
Yeah, the same people that would do a capacity study would also do a facility audit. So I believe with a lot of these companies that we have prices back from, that they could do both.
As we're looking at, what do we do with this elementary school or grades?
Didn't we do capacity?
I did do a capacity study.
Ray did a capacity study with us in 2023.
Saying 22 in my head, but yes, somewhere right in there.
So very different look of the district than where we are right now
Right.
with the intermediate school having grades 1 through 4 and
Very
in high school 5 to 8. That would
Be curious,
that
almost.
would be something for sure that as we engage can say, and what can you add?
Right.
If we choose to, there is not pressure for you to decide this at all, because there's another piece to this conversation.
It's
So-
a huge piece of this conversation.
Right, which is, right, like, well, there's two huge pieces. There's the operation part, but that's October 22nd. We're gonna talk more about the budget. So it's not that we're not thinking about them both. It's having all of that conversation at one time is very difficult. Shannon, can you bring up this survey? Because I just wanna lean into something else because it's part of this conversation as well. But when you talk about capacity study, and when you talk about whether or not we should do that, another question is, how do you know what your community values? How do we know what our community values when it comes to the Osceola School District, right? So, can you advance it? You can. Yes, no?
Nope.
No, okay,
Still doesn't work.
so maybe why we might
Still
want
doesn't
to
work.
conduct a community survey would be about what are their priorities. So we've done some community surveys in the recent history, where we talked a lot about how much money do you wanna spend? But we have not asked the questions about what do you value that we offer? What are you satisfied with? What do you want us to look like in the future? One thing we know is that surveys create connection and conversation, because people have to actively engage and think. And the other piece that I've learned is that you can also do community conversation around a survey as well. So, how do we make sure that you all understand what our community values? Do I wanna spend money on a survey? Nope. Do I wanna do a survey like we did with Google before? Nope, because that did not serve us well, because the analytics were unclear. So you can go to the next one. So what are some things we might think about getting, back to our strategic plan in learning and growth? Like, what are your desired courses? As we decrease in enrollment, right, opportunities sink, what is the advanced placement, CTE, dual credit, FIAD, what is our community support? And kind of the profile of a graduate is what they talk about, like what do we believe Osceola graduates should have as they move forward? Under health and safety, what's their confidence in us being safe and supportive schools? And what are their priorities for health, safety, and wellness? Communication and engagement, how do they prefer to be communicated with? It's amazing, some of the other ones that I was looking at online, like we all think people want email, that is not their answer. They do not want email, they said, put on your web page, we'll find it if we want it. I thought that was just interesting, right? And then the ideas of facilities planning. We've talked about tennis courts, we've talked about a greenhouse. We talked about financial stability options. Is it program prioritization, adjusting grade level configurations? What is class size mean to our community? What are their top financial priorities for the next 5 to 10 years? And then it's also a way for us at this table to get feedback on the donation that we have. Right, because you can have a community conversation and if 20 people show up, are we saying that all those 20 people are the voice of the whole community? Right, and then the idea of future focused, looking ahead to 2030 and beyond. What should Osceola schools look like? And then also an evaluation of our quality, the student experience, extracurricular opportunities, safety, community partnerships. Like, you can ask questions that don't have anything to do with financial pieces so that we have an understanding of what our community values, right? Because 30% of our community has students with us, 70% don't have kids in the district. They might have grandkids or nieces and nephews. So the next one. And here's like my take on why I use a professional survey company, right? They have expertise, they are objective, they can provide data analysis and compare us to other schools, they can help us with the broad reach, they have benchmarking, and they should be protecting confidentiality. A potential timeline, if we wanted to even consider this, would be doing research and development. Like, who are the survey companies? From what I understand, there are about 4 that Wisconsin schools use. Do we wanna see what they could do with us, or do we not, right? How much do they cost? Like Hunter brought you some prices, I don't have prices for you at this time, because I don't wanna put us out there and make you feel like this is the plan, because this is just an option. And then, right, finalize a survey potentially in December, and then do the survey alongside community conversations, but in a different way. Go to the people, so have the survey in hand and go to village board meetings, go to the Lions Club, go to the Rotary Club, like, and explain and see what questions they have. Because that's one thing that I had for feedback in the last survey, is people had questions and they felt comfortable enough calling, but they're like, but I have there's 8 of us. So like if I go down to the seniors with the survey, just like last time with the door open and be like, okay, what questions do you have? Because when it comes to class size, what does that even mean? To somebody who doesn't have kiddos at the elementary level, that may be a totally irrelevant question, but if you have kids that are in 2nd grade, that's a question that matters to you immensely. And then potentially have the survey close in February, and then we have more information potentially alongside some kind of audit. So looking at, we just gave you a ton of information. But right, we're at that planning time of the year where how do we want to move forward? What should we be moving forward with? And how would you as a team and a group of 5, like Hunter and I and the leadership team, to support the work that needs to be done at this table?
always good to have, but it's just at what cost?
Absolutely, yeah. To me, I think that, I think it's important to move forward with the audit, the financial, or educational adequacy, financial audit, not the financial audit, facility audit. I do think we're responsible for maintaining what we have for our kids, our community. I think before we can ask people what they want, we need to be able to know what we can provide or what we already need to do to sustain what we have. I think it's important that we move forward with that and know where our buildings, our facilities, where we stand, what needs to be done.
How long after you do a community survey does the data points stay valid for, typically, or have?
They say 6 months to a year, depending on what you're asking. If you're asking specific appetite for dollar amounts, lesser time. For vision of priorities for a district, longer time.
I mean, as the most senior board member here, we've done surveys trying to cut costs, and we didn't get results we wanted. We've done surveys that have been more expensive than we anticipated and didn't get results we wanted, but we've done surveys where we've gotten results we wanted, and I don't mean outcome, I mean just data.
Mhm.
And so I think myself thinking the audit, is that what it's called? Or did you put that word in my head?
Facility audit.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
is a no-brainer to me. I think that is something that we need to do, that's part of us being fiscally prudent to our community. We need to know what projects are looming.
What's coming ahead?
Right, otherwise it's like, oh, I don't see it, I don't have to address it. That one to me seems like a no-brainer. The survey to me, I think seems like a logical step. I do wanna get data points. I think it's gonna be really important for us to know to what data point, to what end. I think that's where we're gonna have to, and the elephant in the room is the operational piece, which we're gonna get to at the end of the month. And so we have to layer that into, that's the way that I see it. I don't recommend a Google survey. No offense.
None taken.
That was a lot of work for you.
So your pricing that you have for any facilities is from 2018?
Yeah.
That's when it was done last, and then there was something done in 2021 I wrote down, what was it?
That's the elementary school.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was elementary school.
Okay.
But your
But you're
prices for the audit currently
Just
to have
includes
it done
CISA, right?
are for 8,500 to 15.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, those are current as of last week.
And that was
Pricing
done
to have it
blindly
done.
through CISA,
Through-
so they
Yep,
didn't
that
know it
was,
us
yeah, that was
asking.
done
Yeah.
blindly. They were just given how many buildings we have, what's the square footage and how many students.
Sure.
And then, from there that, I believe that all of the numbers are for all of our buildings. So that 8,500, does include the elementary school as well.
But the numbers within the study from 2014, I think.
Yes, the last facility audit, was done in 2014, and then the numbers in 2018 are the last numbers that we have.
And we can also, go through and see who we might think would be the best, and they could also do a virtual presentation about what it is that you would get for the money that we would spend on it, so that you can all hear it from them as well, because like we said, we haven't engaged intentionally.
So would you bring us back to 22nd or farther down?
Whatever, if you all feel like the 22nd would be a good time to bring it back, we sure could.
I was actually thinking more along the 1st of November after we get this other
So
piece to the
yeah,
operation
piece.
piece, kind of what I was thinking,
You
but.
think about the audit and the survey and all that.
I would do it without the elementary school, because we already know it needs attention. And it's basically fix it as it comes up over there, correct?
Currently, yes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't see, I mean, I guess you have to encompass it because it's the whole district, but you already know it's not good. So what's the point of spending time on
That's
it?
where I'm at with that
Right.
as well.
But-
But I'm all for that facility audit, like, big time.
Getting current.
As much information
Info.
we can get on our facilities, so we know kind of all that info, the better. Especially when it comes to future planning and where we can figure out things for our future needs and where we can plan ahead, and especially like if we're looking at in the future too, if we can figure out, can we possibly fit into 3 buildings instead of 4? Is that actually viable? Cause we found out before that we really can't, even though people think we can, we really can't. We were told that a couple years ago, and people think we really can, we can't. Number wise, you can, but realistically and legally, you can't. But maybe with the new planning, maybe we'll find out in years from now we can or something, I don't know. But, I still just wanna see some updated numbers on other things, but I did appreciate those pictures, and it is interesting to see how other schools approach hallways and stuff like that. There's clever things that other districts are doing. When it comes to the survey, the interesting part of the survey though that I am intrigued by is I want community feedback on that donation part though. I'm not lying. I've gone to meat raffles, not just for our district, but for other districts, like probably 3 different districts I've gone to meat raffles, and I've been asked about that donation. I love the meat, guys. I love
this your
ground
intervention,
beef.
or?
No, I'm just saying though, I go to these things and I've been asked about that donation.
And how are you spending it?
And how we're spending it, and people want a voice on it, so that's why I don't think we should just say we shouldn't do the survey. We have to make sure people are heard on this some way, shape or form. We gotta be very careful of just poo-pooing this survey, or we have to make sure people are heard though on how we're doing it.
Opportunity
If
to speak.
we all just come out and just say, this is how we're doing it, and our community feels like they weren't heard, I think that's a big mistake. Even if we hit a large majority of the community, it could be a very loud minority that's gonna feel like they weren't heard. I just want everyone to feel like they were heard. Even if they didn't get their way, I want them to feel like they were heard. And a survey, even if it costs a little bit, is one of the better ways to at least get their voices heard. So I'm still kind of in favor of that survey, just for that particular reason.
I think you brought up a valid point that I hadn't even entertained, was getting feedback for the donation.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of it, but I didn't move across my brain, so thanks for bringing that to me.
Yeah, so that's the biggest reason of the survey. I mean, there's other valuable things you can get out of that survey, but that's the number one thing, because that's the hottest topic still, that comes up. So, yeah.
Jan?
I'm okay with the audit part for the facilities. The survey thing, I know we got a lot of backlash the last time when we did this, and we went with the survey and the cost of it with the low percentage, that we get information back from. I just wish there was maybe a different way to get community voice. So I'm not sold on the survey yet, but the audit piece of it.
All I will say about the low percentage thing is, I'm not sure how else we can try to get the community involved where we're gonna get their voice. This is our way of saying, here's our way of trying to get your voice. If you're choosing to not do it, that's on you. Like,
But there are so many people that even said they didn't know we were doing a survey. So it's like, they didn't get the survey information, so they didn't know.
okay,
The survey wasn't even happening. But also, I think the community they've also have said that we've been surveying them so much. Like,
You've been wanting
right.
we have
Surveying.
been creating all these surveys, like, so much, and then like, just tired, like, so.
You're wrong either way.
I know,
No matter what
I
you
mean,
do.
that's the thing,
You're
it's
asking too
like,
much, you're asking not enough.
I thought you were just saying that to Jan.
Whoa, no, I'm just
No,
saying,
but
I'm
like.
not taking it.
I'm glad, because it
You're wrong,
wasn't meant to
Jan.
be.
You're wrong,
You're wrong.
No, geez, I was like, what I just meant.
Good door.
Can't make everyone happy.
But,
It's
I
hard,
mean,
it is hard though.
I've heard that, it's like, oh, here's another.
I get what
know.
you're saying,
It's not the ideal way of doing it, but it's like when you want
And
everyone's
the
voice.
cost involved.
that's what hurts me.
Well, and I think it would be fun maybe isn't the right word, but to entertain another company, cause we've, I think only historically, besides our Google escapade, use school perceptions, so I'm not holding my breath that they get 67% of the community's feedback versus, you know, one that doesn't, but it would be nice to see if there was another perspectives. Or new ideas or fresh.
And they're always concerned about the cost. They'll be concerned about the audit cost too, and how that's gonna fit in our current budget if we're always in these steps.
I understand that, but I also think we're not doing due diligence if we don't look ahead.
Right.
Right, for the sake of tennis.
Yeah.
10 after, anything else, do you feel like you have enough of a plan from us, Becky, Shannon, Hunter, right now?
Can I say one thing?
Okay.
That as superintendent, Becky had a birthday this week. She loves this. I'll put them at the end of the table, but there's cookies and brownies, so please help yourself between our break here, and happy birthday, Dr. Stiles.
She loves
Yes.
that.
You're welcome, we appreciate you.
Yes, we will.
Appreciate cookies, thank you.
Well, if there's nothing more on Vasily's plan, because we're not done, but,
Oh, no, that's right, we're not, I'm sorry.
no, but that's okay, that was a
But I'm
great.
really excited for the cookies and
Yeah,
brownies.
clearly.
Fine, I forgot.
Item 4B is review the third Friday in September People Count 2025. Thank you,
boy.
Hunter.
I
You
know.
were so excited.
I was so ready for that.
We can tell.
As you're used to seeing, this exact replica, so we go 21 through 25, 26, shows where we're at. Again, the adjusted head count. Remember, there's membership and then there's adjusted head count, so. And when you look across, you can see, I think it's important to actually read this carefully, like the open enrollments that are in, and then the Franconia. So people often may ask you in the community, like, how many students come here from Franconia? So you can see on there, there's 21. There's how many students do we have that do part-time open enrollment through homeschool? Because remember, that's newish in Wisconsin, where students who are homeschooled can come in and take 2 classes, so we have 2 of those students. And then the students that open enroll out.
How long was that part-time homeschool thing then?
I don't know when it started, but, right, homeschool has changed where now you can, be participating in athletics and our activities, where in the past that was a no, strong no, according to DPI, and now you can also come in and take classes part-time.
We will take official, action on this on the regular meeting, so. Item 4C is first reading of policies 3230, 4230, 7300, 7310, and 7440.
Can I ask one thing, can we get the breakdown by grade level, board enrollment?
Two of the policies we didn't have, so we needed them, the, real estate and also personal property. So we talked about that at the annual meeting, and so personal property, and we needed the policy, because then someone asked about it, and we're like, hey, we'll grab our policy. Didn't have one. So now we do, or now we will, actually. And as far as the amount in there, we looked at different districts, and they went anywhere between 2,000 and 5,000, so we picked 3,500. Because it was like, as far as when you would, and that's for the, personal property. And then the, ethics and conflict of interest, those are coming before you because there's, broader application based on what the legal team at Osceola put in play. So there's not a lot of changes on those, and there's 2 of them, right, because there's our policies have a support staff section and a certified staff section. And then another one that's worth noting, that we need your input on is the 7310, right?
Nope,
No,
that's
that's 7440, yes, which is, go ahead, Shannon, if you want.
Facility security, there were some revisions made to it, I think some verbiage on,
No, we wanted the one that's the amount of money.
oh, it's the ethics,
Yes.
sorry,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Ethics and conflict of interest, there is a line in there regarding what a nominal, the definition of a nominal gift is. It was set at 25 for, Neola suggested 25, we'd like to just make it 50, because 25, obviously nowadays.
We had a
is not-
situation where a parent came in and made a donation of gift cards to a bunch of staff members for $40, and if we adopt this policy at $25, they couldn't. Policy, yeah. So that's literally how it came up, because 25 is the suggested amount,
Mhm.
and then it was like, so if we went to, and again, we all will get to decide that, but we were like, just $50, and like, that's where parents do Christmas gifts at that level. For younger ages, and that's also us as board members, people take you out for a meal. I don't know about you all, but if you order a large pizza, it's over $25. For the pizza oven. So thoughts on that, because we would like your opinion on that before we.
I'm good with 50, that seems like a updated amount.
That was the only, that was,
Yeah, there was that one in the safety, I think it was about, access to the buildings, but we did settle on that. Yeah.
So any other questions on that?
Item 4D is the quarterly budget update. September 30th marked the end of the first quarter, so, the revenues are gonna look a little bit different than obviously expense side, because we don't have, our revenues are set on a schedule. Typically, we don't get that, we've gotten, we have received one equalization aid payment, so if you scroll down a little bit, Trish, you can see that large payment there. But then those other revenues don't start coming in until probably mid-year and then towards the spring. Nothing much to report on that side of it. If you want to flip over to the expense side, what we're looking for is that percentage, fiscal year to date percentage. Again, we would like to see that at 23%, so you can see that, we have some that are above that 23%, well, that's because we would maybe pay those out 2 times a year. So for example, the HSA contributions, yep, that's at 63%. Well, that's because we pay one payment in September and one payment in January. If you look at, you're gonna go down and I think the, you go back up, the software, technology and software services. Most of our technology and software services are purchased at the beginning of the year because they're a year contract, so that line has been fulfilled. But again, if you want to go all the way to the bottom, we're just typically looking to see where we're trending percentage wise, and we're at 13.56%, so.
Questions, comments, concerns?
I was laughing at the telephone telegraph.
We have a robust telegraph program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we'll recess until 6:30 and we'll convene our regular meeting. Thank you, everybody.